Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? Hype. Yes, welcome to the new layout for Beatboxing 101. Oh, we fancy, huh? Yes, indeed. As many of you know, I am BoZ, and I do a lot of beatboxing stuff on this channel on the weekends. So, gonna break down a little bit of how I do what I do. Yes, fam. Get ready to spit. It's gonna be great. Don't be embarrassed about it. That's whack. Because it's what we do. And as you get better at and more proficient at doing all the sounds, you actually spit less most of the time. Nature's pop filter. The mustache and the soul patch are not required. The soul patch actually does help with a couple sounds, but I don't think we're gonna get to that today. So a little bit of context about me. So in college, I beatboxed a lot with this highly competitive group, the Nor'easters. While I was their beatboxer, I got to do a lot of awesome gigs, including a White House Christmas party, a tour in Australia, one in Alaska, and we won the ICCA competition, which is the one from Pitch Perfect. And at that competition, I won an award for outstanding vocal percussion. That was really, really, really cool. That was 2013. And then since like leaving the group and stuff, I haven't really, done much with acapella, but I have been teaching at like scholastic festivals in the Massachusetts area. I've done a lot of lessons. I trained.
There it is! Oh. Everything I wanted is in this room.
Everything I wanted is in this room. I'm not trying to flex, just trying to give a little bit of context as to like what my experience is. Anyway, I trained the person who replaced me in the Nor'easters. I trained a couple of awesome beatboxers who've gone on to do some really, really cool things. The way I kind of approach beatboxing is kind of, random at times. There's a process to it, but it's a little weird. It's not super musical. It is, but it's not like I use like sheet music when writing out my parts or anything like that. I try to frame beatboxing as something that's really accessible to musicians and non-musicians, because it is. People think that there are these high barriers to entry, but they're not really. Nice animation boy. I'll explain what that is in a second. Basically, I'm just teaching beatboxing today. Right now, at least. In the evening at 8 p.m., if you come back, I'll do requests. But welcome to the stream. I kind of lost my train of thought there. Oh, yeah, beatboxing is actually super accessible. So people perceive this like high barrier to entry, but it's actually like really simple. Most, like if you can speak a language, you can probably, do enough to learn the basics of beatboxing and have a place to jump off from. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I have a good amount of stuff to cover. I'll try to keep an eye on chat, but with my setup, it's a little janky. Also, I have taught a lot of lessons, but usually I'm, face to face with someone and I can hear them in addition to them hearing me. And I also really prefer to have things to write on. So I've got a little notepad up where I'll be jotting some stuff down. And then I've got like a Pixlr document open that maybe if I need to draw something, I'll do that. But
I love raid.
Oh, snap!
Raid!
Raid!
Ah! Raid!
I love rain.
I'm just kidding. It's always gonna be
It's
weird.
gonna be weird.
Hi.
Okay, so welcome Raiders. Jer, thank you so much for the raid. Really appreciate it. Good
There
to
it
see
is.
all of you.
Everything I wanted
Oh
is in
snap!
this room.
And I think someone else is hosting us now too. Oh my goodness, y'all are just way too kind on all fronts. Thank you so much. So I was just giving a little bit of my credentials. I beatboxed a lot in college, and I've taught a lot of people, but I've never taught through Twitch. I'm used to being able to write things down, and also being able to hear you helps. But I think we've come up with something that'll still be beneficial to musicians and non-musicians alike. So we're just gonna dive right into it. So the first thing that people often hear when they're learning how to beatbox is, just say boots and cats over and over again, right? Boots and cats. Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats. And I'm doing it. Oh my goodness. And so that is kind of a thing. There's a reason people say that. It's not, obviously the tried and true secret to how to beatbox, but let's take the vowels out of boots and cats, right? So no O, I guess we can keep the ND. We don't really need it. Okay. So we don't need these NDs. We're gonna ignore these, right? And that gives us BTS. BTS is also a sick band. We get B as one sound, TS as another, K or C from cats, and then the TS from cats, right? So these are the sounds that kind of get you started with this, right? So let's take a step back. Most music that we'll be beatboxing to will be in 4/4 time, which means if you're listening to it, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you could take it a step further and be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? So using monotype font, we have a notation I like to use for exactly that. Except there really should be a space there or here. Okay. Yeah, cool. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? When I write down beats, and we'll break this down in a little more depth later, but I use this little shorthand just because I'm not trying to necessarily transcribe beats in a way that other people can see them and break it down. It's more so I like to write down my beats because then I can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's how it goes. But in any case, if we were to take these sounds that we've kind of broken down here, you could do something like this. I swear I did monotype font. Hold on a sec. Is there a reason this isn't working? There we go. And that's really just boots and cats and, right? So that's why people say boots and cats, is because you can kind of get a beat out of it, which is if we were going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, boot, sand, cat, sand, boot, sand, cat, sand. All right. Now that we've gotten, the stupid thing that everyone says out of the way, let's start to break this down a little bit. So we have an example of a kick drum, a hi-hat sound, and a snare of sorts. And those are the 3 components that I'm kind of going to focus on today. Kicks. So let's start with sorry, I'm not looking at chat too much. But I totally remember Suzuki. And yeah. Anyway, so let's start with that B from Boots, right? So that's kind of one of your standard kick sounds, and it's just literally the letter B. So if you were going to say like boom, 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 and get rid of the you get, it's just the B sound. The sound that the letter B makes is the foundation of most kick sounds, at least the one that I'm gonna start with, right? So just the letter B, right? And there are a couple of things we can do to make it sound more like a kick drum. So let's see, what's a good way to, so you know how if you're humming, you can hum in a medium place like or you can be like if you disagree with something, right? The difference between and is how you kind of shape your mouth. So now may be actually a decent time for me to bring out a visual aid. Here we go. Hopping over to my drawing board here. So you're gonna have to forgive me. I am not an artist. So give me a second. Okay, so pretend this is you. Here's your eye. This little orifice here is your mouth. And this is kind of the inside of your mouth. It goes down to your throat. I'm sorry, I'm not an artist. This is usually bad when I'm using a whiteboard, and with this it's even worse. But okay, so the point is how this cavern, both the inside kind of like back of your throat area and also your mouth, how those are shaped oftentimes influences the sound that comes out. We're going to come back to that later, so I just wanted to get that concept in your mind. But basically, if you're agreeing, you're like, that sounds good, versus, I don't know about that, right? You're making the same sound, but you're doing it lower, right? You're shifting your mouth and your neck, essentially, to make that lower noise. So if you apply that same structure with the B sound, you can get the difference between and, right? It's not a huge difference, but it can, it can go a long way when trying to deepen the bass sound, especially for our lady beatboxers. So okay, drag this back down. So that's kind of your basic kick sound, is the letter B. And there are a few variants we can do on it. So there's just the regular B. You could do it lighter as well, right? So you can do that low or high, right? Like super delicate, right? Or you can scrunch up your face really tight and really let loose a ton of air on that B, like really pack the pressure in and then blast through it, right? That's how you can get kind of harder things versus the softer ones, which is you just try to do it as delicately as possible, right? Kind of like you're spitting a little bit. So yeah, that's your simple kick. We'll come back to, actually no, I can give you guys here, why don't we all try that kick sound? So just the letter B together, right? I'll count it in. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go. All right. So we're going to do it together. I can't hear you and no one else can hear you. So you don't have to be embarrassed. You can go for it, right? Don't go too hard though. Just let's see if we can get that letter B out. All right. 1, 2, 3, and. All right, cool. Great job, everybody. You are well on your way. You already have like 1/3 of the tricks necessary to compose a beat. It's very, very exciting. So one other way that we can take that kick sound and expand on it a little bit is if you put the letter V or maybe the letter M at the end of it. So like let's forget the B. The sound that the letter V makes, what's cool about that is you're actually kind of like singing or humming a pitch when you do the V sound, right? And same with In fact, we already talked about the letter M when we were talking about how to make your kick sound a little lower, right? So using the V or the M, in addition, you can actually pitch your kick drums in different places, right? So the difference between like right? Now that'll probably take a little bit more support, especially before you get used to it. So don't rush into doing that, but it is a way that you can expand on your kicks. And one thing that I'm kind of a big proponent of in general is you don't need a ton of sounds. If you can like nail your sounds, then you can like play with them in cool ways to add dynamics to your kit without necessarily needing to learn like all the crazy tricks that you can see like solo beatboxers do a lot. It's actually something I maybe should have pointed out at the beginning. I'm not really much of a solo beatboxer, right? Like I'm not the type of person to just do like a sick thing all by myself because I'm great at it and I know a bunch of tricks and I can do that, right? My style is more accompaniment and like jamming, right? I think there's a lot of fun there and it's really accessible. Like, I don't know, jamming is kind of something that a lot of non-musicians aspire to when they're learning music is, oh yeah, I can read the sheet music and play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but I wish I could hear something and jam along with it. And I feel like beatboxing is actually a really, really easy way to break into that. But anyway, let's move on to the next sound from Boots and Cats, which is going to be our first example of a hi-hat. So the first one that we're going to go over is TS, right? And the way that I like to think about that is what is the sound an S makes? Now, if you made that really short, then all you got to do is put like a soft little T at the beginning of it. And that's pretty much your basic hi-hat. Hi-hats are on a drum kit. It's the cymbal that has like, it's the one that they hit all the time and it can open to make a long sound or close to make a short one. So however long you elongate your S is how long or short your hi-hat will be. So let's try short hi-hats together the same way that we did the kick. I'll count in 4 beats and then we'll go tss, 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 tss. Okay? 1, 2, 3, and tss, 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 tss. Right? Cool. Let's try 3 short and then a long. Okay? So it'll be like, okay? So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, and nice. Great job, everybody. You've got hi-hats down already. You've got a solid kick sound and a solid hi-hat sound ready to go. That is so tight. Boots and Cats almost makes complete sense now. Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. Now there are more sounds we can use for hi-hats. Let's come back to that. First, I want to get to that sound from Cats, which I know starts with a C, but I'm going to write it as a K. because I like thinking of it as a K sound instead of a C sound. Cool. So basically, same exercise we did. Boom minus equals, and that's how you get your kick sound. And we can do that with the K. So cats minus ats equals, I'm going to put K, even though this math doesn't quite add up. I like to think of it as K's instead of C's because C's are not as hard a consonant all the time. So anyway, so it's basically cats. Does not compute. All right, Tristan. So if we were to take all of the sounds that compose the word cats, right? If we were to say the word cats super slowly, cats, right? And then we start getting rid of things, right? Cat. Oh shit, Tristan, you got me. Also, I'm so sorry for that word I just said. Anyway, is the sound we're going for on that, right? So basically, if we take it a step back to boots and cats, right? Now we can visualize that that's really the beat that we wrote down here, right? Let's write it a little better now. You know what? I'll just grab my little shorthand thing, put it in here for a sec. Oh my goodness. There we go. Now we've got our kick, we got our short hi-hat, we've got our first snare, baby's first snare, and we got another hi-hat. And that's boots and cats right there as an actual beat. And in fact, that's going to be the first beat in our pattern bank, which we're going to build. But let's see if we can do this together, right? We'll go super slow, right? So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. This is just an example for. All right, let's get it together. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, dope. Great job, guys. All of you who just did it, just beatboxed. Even if you didn't get one or all of those sounds correct, y'all just beatboxed, which is fantastic. Okay, let me take a step back to the beat. So the beat can take a little practice, but so you're super excited. You're playing Breath of the Wild. You just threw a remote bomb, and then when you detonate it, it goes boom, right? Super big boom, right? So Bruno, we'll talk about breathing soon. Don't you worry. So if you get rid of the vowels and just everything except the, so even if you're doing a quiet like, that still counts as a kick drum. It's just a little softer. The way that you get your kick drums louder is so if you were sighing or humming, or let me see if this works. Right? You end up in your lower register when you do that, right? So if you're like, You can kind of feel you've opened up a little bit. Your mouth's a little open. The back of your neck might be a little more expanded as well, because that's how you do that. And then basically you want to have, like, if I were to go, versus just how I'm normally talking. It's a little tough, and it's also a little less apparent on people who haven't like sung as much. But basically, the real way to make your kicks sound a little beefier is just to really put a lot of pressure in your lips when you're letting that B sound out. See, if you go too hard, it'll probably start to hurt, but that's how you train the muscles, kind of like any other muscle. And then for me, going like is completely natural. Nice, Nidge. Well, cello player, you breathe out a little bit, but not from your chest so much as it's air in your mouth that's going out. Whereas if you're doing one of these, the right? If you're doing one of those, then it starts with air in your mouth, but because you're going, which is an extended thing, comes from your diaphragm, that uses breathing out, right? Cool. Dope. Bruno, that's cool. Not a big problem with it sounding like a P versus a B. Those are pretty indistinguishable, and we're actually going to work with a P sound fairly shortly. So use that as the counterweight. As you practice that sound versus this sound, you'll be able to tell them apart a little bit more by practicing, and then you'll be able to like distinguish them a little bit in your head. All right, so we have our ts and our k to start with, right? That's super funny. Okay, so I want to go through a few more sounds. Now that we have like a few of each, I want to just diversify these a little bit. And then we'll go into some patterns, and then we'll break down an example. So for hi-hats, you can also use just a T without an S on it. So are kind of like the three examples. The S can go on it, or you can just do a T sound. There isn't a huge difference necessarily between a T without an S and a T with a really short S, but it's just more things to kind of play with. However, I know we haven't gotten into constructing beats yet, but it's worth noting that if I were to do a beat like it's kind of hard to go over and over and over again with accuracy, right? That's actually really hard, even for someone who's beatboxed for like a super long ass time. That is a challenging thing. So one little cheat that I use is actually borrowing this snare sound, making it way softer than making it just a, and then if you ever need to do a bunch of hi-hats in a row, I like going like this, right? We'll kind of, we'll get into that a little bit more with some of the patterns, but it's worth noting that you can substitute other sounds for hi-hats or kicks or snares, to be honest. Something, it'll become more clear with the patterns, but and like as we actually do an example, but something that's really worth thinking about from the beginning is, yes, most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, kicks will sound like or some variety of that sound, right? But you want to start thinking about kicks, hi-hats, and snares as functions more so than specific sounds. Like in a beat, the kick goes here and then the hi-hat goes here and the snare goes here, but I could technically substitute those. Like, I don't necessarily need to do a every time the kick comes in. I could make that kick sound something different. My snare, right now, the only snare we know is k, but I could do a and that is the same thing as, which is the same thing as boots and cats and boots and cats. It's just swapping out what you're using as your kick, what you're using as your hi-hat, and what you're using as your snare, right? So yeah, we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. Let's talk about a few different snares real quick. So the one snare we have is k, k, k. However, remember earlier when I was being all silly and going cats, right? You can extend the k sound, right? Like it definitely takes a lot of air, especially if you're not used to doing this, right? But normally we just go cats and we don't think about it. But when you slow it down, and now that we have our k sound, what would happen if you tried to make that k sound as long as you could? You kind of evolve into giving an H sound through breath support while your mouth is in the shape of a K, right? This harkens back to our shitty little diagram, right? Your mouth, your lips are in a K sound, right? And your mouth from in here is providing H, a steady stream of H through the lens of a K, right? And then you get, right? So that's another sound that I like to call KH. Shout outs to Kingdom Hearts. Shout outs to all my Arabic speakers with our but that's not what I'm talking about. I just mean I call it KH, right? So KH is an aspirated sound. You are supplying air from your diaphragm so you can do things with that sound, with that air, right? You can go versus if you were to what is, you know how people make fun of the Darth Vader breathing, the like or like the walkie-talkie sound, right? It's literally just different ways of pitching KH. So again, going back to our diagram, right? The way that you shape your mouth directly impacts how the air traveling through it sounds. It's like how you've got reverb in a cavern, right? And then if the mouth of the cavern closes, then it's anyway. So like actually, hell yeah. How many of you have smartphones, right? Here's something you can do. A lot of smartphones have a speaker that's easy to identify on the bottom. For iPhones, our microphones and our speakers are on the bottom. So I don't know, Android phones vary a lot more, but check this out, right? So I'm going to play, oh shoot, if I play this, I might get in trouble with Twitch. Let me play some video game music. I want to show you something you guys can do to practice kind of the mouth shaping that I'm talking about. So I'm going to find a song. I'm so sorry. I'd love to find like maybe some Ben Briggs. Yeah. Here we go. Some Ben Briggs. Ben Briggs is great, by the way. Listen to him. Okay, so you've got your device. If you cover up the speaker, you'll probably be able to find out this is louder than this, right? So what you can do, point this speaker, right? So I'm covering the speaker so I know what it is. You point this speaker into the corner of your mouth and then just open and close your mouth, right? It sounds a little weird, but I'll show you, right? Actually, no. Poison Thunder, who joined our thing, is the one who taught me that. That's he was in High Off You. But anyway, so the same way that doing that and playing with your mouth shape made it open and close and made different like sounds, that process is always at play when you're speaking, beatboxing, singing, when you're ever using your, vocal apparatus, right? So anyway, the reason I brought that up is with the sounds weird by itself, but you can actually do cool things with that. Let's take Boots and Cats, for example, right? Right? So it gives you just a little more depth with how you can play with that, right? So yeah, those are kind of the things you can do with the KH versus just the short k or k, with even less aspiration. There is one other K snare that I like to teach. It's a little hard, right? It's a little more clicky. But it's a super useful sound once you get it, but it does take a little bit of time to get it, right? So, okay, gonna use another weird thing to break this down for you. Y'all know about finger guns? Like, y'all know what I'm talking about there? Right? So, when you do finger guns, you typically do it out of one side of your mouth, right? Try doing finger guns out of the other side of your mouth. Not super natural for me to do it, but it's a thing, right? Practice going back and forth a little bit. Now don't worry, that's not the sound that we're going to be using. However, that is a good exercise to get familiar with that area of your mouth. The ends of your gums and your teeth are where this sound comes from. I'm basically saying click. Right? But I go like this. I go like that, right? And then I push my tongue up against the roof of my mouth, and then I just say KL as if I was saying click, but from the back, and try to shoot the sound through these corners of my mouth, right? So, right. Sorry, let me break this down. So, finger gun one side, finger gun other side. Now, the way that you conceptualize how you make that sound is by imagining making the finger gun sound out of both sides of your mouth at the same time, which I don't think is possible. But if you imagine it and then you go KL or click, try to say click while your mouth is in that shape, you will eventually land on, which is just, when you have that sound, it is just so useful because you don't have to use any air for it. But yeah, one more snare, then we're gonna move on to patterns. Again, all you need is one kick, which is just the letter B, one hi-hat, which is T or TS, and one snare, which can just be the letter K. That's all you need. The rest of this is all tools for you to play with and use to kind of get better. Because eventually you're going to want a little bit more depth in your kit. But anyway, now we're going to talk about my favorite snare of all time, which is if you've ever been around loud people or a bunch of children, what's the most effective way to get everyone to be quiet? Shh, 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 shh. Shush them hard, right? That in itself can be a snare. right? Because the reason that's so effective is because it uses a lot of air. You can be loud with it, and it's a really high frequency. So even if everyone's being really loud, it'll carry over them, and people will be like, oh snap, I should be quiet, right? So that's why it's really effective as a snare, because that is the same function a snare plays in most beats, is that it's kind of like it's the clap. Oh, we clap on the snare, right? Not 100% of the time, but it's something that is louder. Like your kicks are usually felt, your snares are usually heard, right? Hi-hats kind of get lost, right? So whenever I'm building a beat, I like to think the meat and potatoes are the kicks and the snares. But anyway, back to this particular snare, is if you take that sh sound and you put a P in front of it, right? So P plus sh equals psh, which is a fantastic snare. You can do it really hard. Psh, psh, psh. You can do it really quiet. Psh, 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 psh. But because of that high frequency SH, it will be heard and serve its function as a snare. So that's fun, right? Man, sounds take us a long time. We're still on sounds. It's wild to me. But anyway, this is another variation on this is PF, right? Or like takes a little bit of practice, but if you start by just making and then slowly and surely putting more strength into it, you will get a PF snare. My favorite snare, BoZ snare, equals PSH plus PF, right? So is my default snare. So if you ever wanted to use it. But again, just shushing works. A P plus a shush works. Using the K works. There's all sorts of things you can do, to have different sounds. So now that we've kind of gone through some sounds, let's put them into some patterns, right? So we have boots and cats as our first pattern. Let's fill out a few more useful ones, in my humble opinion. Let me see. I actually might have already done this work. Let me open my notepad. Not my notepad. This thing. Yes, we are in business. Okay. Actually, this is a bit messy. Okay, ignore me. So this is our boots and cats over here, right? I kind of want to minimize a little bit. Hopefully you guys can still see. If it becomes problematic, let me know. The burp sound. So we'll talk about where you fit in breathing and where you fit in auxiliary sounds very shortly. Now that we're starting to put our sounds together, we can start to think about things like that. So there's our boots and cats, right? Now, another way that you could write this, and this is worth noting, is that since this is just shorthand, that's one way of writing boots and cats, right? Another way could be like this. Right? Or we can even get rid of the S's here, right? So this is, if we were to count this out, this is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and tss, 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 right? So using this kind of shorthand when you're breaking down your beats can be really useful, because you'll oftentimes find that certain pulses or grooves can, when sped up, oftentimes translate into really popular fills. And actually the next thing that I'm going to break down is the best example of that you will ever see. I just call it 3-3-2 because it's 3 subdivisions, 2 two subdivisions, right? I call this 3, 3, 2. So if I were to count that out, right, it would go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right? So try that with me, okay? So we're gonna go, we'll go at a slow speed. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to switch to a PSH snare instead of the K. In 3 and 4, go. We'll do hick. We'll do hick in a sec. Give me a sec. I just wanted to break down 3, 3, 2. I'm going to do a couple more patterns. We'll go to a couple more sounds because I actually realized I skipped a huge part of what I wanted to talk about with sounds. Let's see. One other, especially nowadays, one really common thing is halftime, which is just, you know, we'll use P to mean snares here, right? Dubstep / halftime, right? So this one is a little different because if we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, it goes. Really simple, but you'll notice that like if you just start to fill in some of the like big blank spaces with things, you've got a really cool build, right? So that second line that I wrote out, or this here, right? That would go so. Right? You can kind of grow things with there. Halftime is a really fun tool when you're crafting beats because, you know, just kind of shifting the feel of like where your audience is expecting snares to land primarily is, you know, a really useful tool to switch up the grooves in beats. But don't worry, cello player. I will so kind of just doing them faster is just a matter of practicing them. So actually, yeah, it's actually a really good segue into sounds again. I can kind of talk about some of the things that I missed. So okay. So when it comes to improving sounds / basics, right? In my mind, there are a few steps, right? So the first, mastering. All right. So first you have to be able to conceptualize it, right? And this works for, you know, the sounds that you're just learning now, or if you want to come up with new sounds like on your own. If you're like, oh, what if I bleated like a goat, or what if I hiccuped or something? Like you first you have to have kind of an idea, or you hear someone else do it. You have a concept for what the sound is and what it's going to do once you have it, right? Then you just try to get the sound. You just try to do it. You just try to do it. Just try to get it once, right? You just keep on trying. Who knows? This could be months of trying. Like, oh man, for me it was snares that let you breathe inward. So like, again, we're probably not going to go over that today. But like for me, that was something like I could conceptualize it for like 4 years, and just one day it just suddenly clicked for me, right? And actually now I teach it way better than anyway. But so you have an idea, you try, and then eventually you get it once. Heck yeah. Then it becomes a game of getting it more frequently, right? Yeah. So you essentially increase your success rate. So, okay, the first time you get it, it's the first out of 1,000 tries, right? Then you get it 500 tries later. Then you get it 100 tries later. Then you can get it every 30 tries. Then you can get it every 10 tries. Then you can, you just want to increase the frequency of getting it. In doing that, you'll obviously understand more conceptually about it, and you'll be getting it more than once. So it's the next step. And then you get it always, right? Once you get it always, that's awesome. Because then it's like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You get it 100% of the time. It is officially one of your sounds, right? And that's really nice. You can try to start working it into beats and stuff like that, right? But at that point, I think, and this is where I start to actually answer the question, which is how, right? How can you go, right? Because once you are able to get that sound once, you can start to flex on it, right? Flex on that sound, right? What I mean by that is you can understand different variations of it. I'm going to break that down a little bit in just a second. But basically, you can, do it louder. You can do it quieter. You can do it harder. You can do it softer. Those aren't necessarily the same things. You can do it in different pitches. You can do it, there are just a bunch of ways you can do the sound. And like, you'll come to learn that when you do a sound quieter, it takes way less effort, right? So if I need to do a huge buildup when I'm going, and there aren't a lot of moving parts, I can go super hard on all of it. But as soon as I'm going like, right? Then you need to ease off, right? You ease off on the volume so you can get more speed, right? So in learning how to flex the sounds you've learned, you understand that kind of nuance, right? And then it becomes instinctual. And that's kind of the goal, right? But let's go back to how to flex on these sounds, right? Flex / improve. Let's just say improve on sounds, right? So there are a few ways you can do it, right? We mentioned loud, soft. We mentioned high, low. Now I'm going to do my favorite visual grid. Also, I'm so sorry that I've been doing such a bad job at responding to chat. I just have so much I want to get through, and I don't want to lose my flow. So I apologize. But let's move our friend over a little bit. Oh, Pixlr, don't give me your ads right now. Thank you. Can I cut? Can I cut? Yes, I cut. And I paste. New layer. Oh my God, allow. All right, boom. All right, so we get rid of him for now. Let's go back to layer 1. Let's fill this in, and let's build my favorite grid. Now this one thing, you might be thinking, BoZ, I know 3 sounds, tops, maybe 4. How could I possibly be, you said that I would have all the tools I need to improve and even to jam with people. I feel like I'm super limited. Well, let's take K. We'll take K, the K sound that we have, right? And apologies, this is not going to look pretty. You guys are just going to have to suspend your disbelief with my terrible styles, right? So we're going to draw a grid, right? Or a graph. We're drawing axes on a graph right here, right? Hopefully y'all remember what this means from middle school math. As the value increases, you go up. As the value decreases, it goes down. As the value increases, you go to the right. As the value decreases, you go to the left. That's what this means, right? So the sound that I just learned, I got it. That is the middle point on this grid. That is your origin, is the sound, right? And the axes are pitch. Dang, this is really not great. So I'm going to... Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Again, I'm used to being able to just write things as fast as I can talk. Pitch. We do not need size 80 font, though I appreciate it. We also don't need size 4 font. My God. All right, there we go. Boom. So this one's pitch. And then the other one is volume, right? So practice taking this. Man, I should have made that K a moving object. Actually, I can do that now because I'm a genius. So if I go here and nope, edit, cut. Nope. Maybe I'm not as much of a genius as I thought. Edit, cut, edit, paste. I swear this is going somewhere, fam. So here is your sound, right? You guys all learned this sound today. Right? So right now it is in the middle of the thing, right? It's in the middle of the graph. It is at the origin. So if we were going to take it up the y-axis, let's go up in pitch then, all right? So oh my God, right? So, and then you do it with volume. Right? Okay, now obviously where I was on the graph did not line up very well with where I was at, right? But it's worth thinking about how every sound that you learn can be modified in so many different ways. You can increase the volume, you can increase the pitch. Doing that exercise for all of the sounds that you learn is a huge way to add versatility to your kit and help with things like breathing and stamina, because if you get used to doing the sound as quietly as possible while still making the sound, then if you're running out of breath, you just do it super quiet until you get a spot to breathe, right? Now, the next thing we're thinking about here is that obviously you don't have to be on the axes. You can be high-pitched and loud. You can be loud and low-pitched. You can be quiet and high-pitched. You can be quiet and low-pitched. If you plot some of these in a line, right? So if I'm going to take... Let's take high volume, high pitch, and move it towards middle volume, middle pitch, right? So can I just duplicate this layer? Yes, I can. Duplicate layer, drag it. So okay, we're gonna follow these layers, right? We're gonna plot a curve. We're gonna go like this, and we're gonna do it like da, 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 is going to be the rhythm, but it's going to go high-pitched, high volume, low-pitched, lower volume, lowest pitch, lowest volume. All right? And it sounds like... Now that is a sick effect. You use that as its own sound, as a snare with a cool little echo on it, and you got... Right? No. We're not going to be petty. I'm clearly not talking about the Ku Klux Klan. Come on. So yeah, we're thinking about curves and just the depth of your sounds there, using that little chart as a tool. People want to learn the hic, so I'll do the hic. I'll do the hic right now. Here are my notes. So we'll do some auxiliary sounds. Use the graph. So these are kind of just fun things you can use whenever you want. So the hiccup, let's do some whooshes first. Whooshes. Swooshes. So kind of, this is actually, the reason why I want to do this one first is because it ties in directly to that graph. Literally, if you just do an SH sound or an F sound or an H sound through your mouth and just mess with your mouth shape and like your pitch, you can do also like that can be a fun thing, especially if you're like leading into a drop or something. You can go right. So that's an auxiliary sound that's fun to play with. And another one is, let's talk about this hiccup. Now it's so it's not the easiest thing to learn right off the bat before you've kind of been, beatboxing and stuff. But we're actually going to bring our homie back. We'll bring this back, and then we'll bring back the little diagram of the face that everyone loves so much. Where did I hide that dude? Is this him? Yeah, here he is. Boom. All right. So looking at our homie, we'll put him over here for now. Maybe we can shrink him a little bit. We'll zoom. That's what we'll do. So, like, you are breathing in and making a hiccup sound, like, right? And the way that I explain this to people is, imagine like the smallest little singular pellet of air, right? Like just a super small pellet of air. Not like an atom, right? But like a tiny marble, like a small marble of air, right? And your mission is to shoot this marble of air. You are to shoot this marble of air up and backwards into the top of the back of your throat. That's how I imagine it. Because if you don't imagine the smallest marble of air, you'll end up going, right? And that's obviously not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to make pterodactyl sounds. So it's got to be a super, super small quantity of air. So yeah, small pellet of air. You're doing a just try to get it as high and back there as possible, as high and back into the back of your throat as possible, right? Cool. Okay. So I realize we are going kind of fast. I will open the floor to 1 or 2 questions before I move into the next thing. Stamina is mostly practice. But breathing helps with stamina a lot. Kind of just practicing the sounds is honestly the biggest thing, because when you first start, it takes like your whole apparatus just to get the kick sound right once, right? Like going is like, oh man, that was hard, right? Practicing it makes it so that not only like it does not take as much stamina, but you also learn how to do it harder and softer, which just intrinsically requires less. I think beatboxing quietly is underrated. A lot of people focus on making it as loud as possible. Both are super important exercises to do. Knowing when to breathe is important, and we're actually going to talk about that shortly. I'm superhuman. No, sorry. I'm not superhuman. I am 100% human. And I used to be way better at this than I am now. I'm actually like super rusty right now. But like when you practice more, it just becomes really natural. And so like, yeah, it's just all a matter of just like how much you practice. Barriers to entry are super low. Skill ceiling is infinite. By the way, something I should have mentioned earlier, try to brush your teeth before you beatbox so you don't choke on food. And always make sure you hydrate a lot. Couple of things, just real quick, having water in your mouth and just like inhaling a little bit while you make mouth shapes. It's like take a little bit of water in your mouth. I just make a weird kissy face and inhale, and that's a really good way to hydrate your mouth. Drinking water obviously hydrates your throat. Okay, what else? It's useful to warm up before you try to do any extended beatboxing. One useful thing is just hiss for as long as you can, then take another deep breath and then hiss for as long as you can. So like right. So I purposefully sped it up there, but you want to like draw it out as long as you can until you have to take another deep breath and then immediately go back into doing another one. Another quick thing you can do is just practice breathing on a beat. So if you just 1, 2, 3, 4, in, out through your mouth, in, out. Sounds stupid, but it's useful. Yeah, there's just a bunch of things you can do to warm up. But, okay, so going back to let me take this guy out of here. Going back to our notes, if we go down to our pattern bank a little bit, right? Excuse me. You typically want to breathe where, okay, let me take a step back. When you break down a beat, which is something we're going to do together in a second, in my opinion, the most important sound is the snare. The second most important sound, or function, I should say. Okay, so for breathing and in general. Primary functional sound is the snare because, like I said before, it's the clap. It's the thing everyone hears the most of. Secondary is the kick. And then, like, way almost irrelevant are hi-hats plus auxiliary sound. Right? You never, ever, 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 when you're beatboxing, especially if you're doing it with another musician, you never, ever, ever want to compromise your snare. Ever. It is the most important thing. It's what everyone else listens to make sure that they are on time, right? So the snare is very important to the identity of the beat. The kick is similarly important. You never want to breathe. So literally the worst thing you can ever do is breathe where you're supposed to do a snare. Second worst thing when it comes to breathing is breathing during a kick. No need to do that. Just breathe where you're going to have a hi-hat or breathe where you have nothing, right? So if we're taking an example here, right? If we do the I just breathed here, right? So forbidden places to breathe are here, here, no, in order. Forbidden places to breathe are here and here, and then here and here. You can breathe in any of these spots, and you won't compromise the feel of your beat. However, in my opinion, it's usually best to breathe on the and of 4. What I mean by that is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Right? So this is the prime locale right here. Right? And when I write out full parts, I like to notate breathing with an apostrophe, because I am a string player at heart. And we all know apostrophe is a lift right before an up bow. Actually, I haven't played a string instrument in like 20 years, so I don't know why I even said that. Cool. Okay. So that's kind of the hierarchy of sounds. And so just know your beat and know where you can breathe. Right? So now, okay, BoZ, you've given me a bunch of sounds, you've given me tips about breathing, but I don't even know, am I just supposed to do boots and cats and 3-3-2 and dubstep for the rest of my life? What about an actual sound? How do I turn this into what you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. We are going to listen to a banging track, and we are going to go over what transcribing this beat would look like. We're going to be listening to the Steel Samurai music from Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Now, I will point out there is a drum kit, which is your kicks and your snares in this example. They have like a wood block part or something like that. We're going to focus on the kit primarily, the wood block secondary, and there's also a timpani part, which we're mostly just going to ignore because we don't have all day. This is already way later than I was expecting by this point. So let's listen to this a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Think about that. This feels different. Whoa. I wonder why it feels so cool. Oh, but now I'm excited again. Oh, what's this? Oh, oh my God. And that's the loop, right? That's the loop. I'll try not to yell. So, okay. I already typed all of this out before, right? So let's walk through it a little bit as we listen, right? So first let's talk about all the sections, right? So it starts. Whoa, that was a complicated rhythm. That's that wood block sound I'm talking about. It's probably not a wood block, but that's what I'm going to call it. So that was an interesting rhythm. We'll come back to that later, right? Let's continue listening to this intro. Okay, so there was this cool little riff thing that only had timpani, and then we had a few snares at the end there. Okay. So if we were to break that down, ignoring the wood block again, we got ba da 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 da, right? So, well, that's when the timpani's hitting. Maybe if we can get that rhythm right, we can just do sounds that we already know on those same rhythms. So again, it was, if we're counting out every little thing slowly, ba da ba 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 is the rhythm. Ba da ba 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 ba, right? And I just know that because I've been listening to this over and over. Literally, you just play it over and over to just get it. Once you know it in your head, just slow it down and then count out the beats and then write it out in the formation. So we're gonna move on to here. So we're going to ignore the woodblock intro. Here is the intro. So I know this looks like a lot, but let's take it slow. Ba, ba, off, ba. So, okay, let me do it in time, right? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Here we go. 2, 3 and go. Ba, 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 ba. Again. Ba, 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 ba. 1 off. Ba, 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 ba. So the beat that I proposed for this is kick, kick, snare, right? So it sounds like. However, not necessary. That's also kind of more complicated than the rest of the song. So just leave it there. If that's hard for you, just ignore it. This is a song that loops over and over and over. So that is actually probably the best place to like take, catch your breath. Like you'll obviously need to breathe throughout the song, but that's a good time to just like collect yourself, right? So, okay, we also heard a few snares at the end of that, right? So let's listen to that again. Right? So one more time. Okay, so we had a da 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 da, right? So I did. Remember that 3-3-2 thing we were talking about? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Hey, would you look at that? If you break it down into smaller subdivisions or eighth notes, it even fits in here, right? Or I guess are those technically 16th notes? I don't care. You break them down into smaller subdivisions and you get. So if I were to do this slowly, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and psh, 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 right? So yeah. So it's 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. And honestly, thinking about like all music in terms of like, obviously when you hear music, you'll count 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 really easily, or even 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Thinking about all music with also like how would it like ba ba ka ba ba ka 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Super useful exercise. But in any case, when we come to this intro, we got ba da 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 da. Is how it ends, right? The first thing of the A section, as I'm calling it, is a kick drum, right? So I'm gonna play the A section, and we can read it, right? So the way that we read this is it goes, right to left, left to right, and then it moves down here, right? Each of these little sections is 4 beats, and I delineate that with this little vertical line. So let's take a look real quick. Okay, that one's pretty straightforward. Ba ba ba. Oh, we switch it up. do. Okay. So, looking at that, right? It's mostly just kick drums, and almost all of it falls on the main beats that we count. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, right? So the first 2 bars are literally just kick drums. That's it. 8 kick drums, right? Now for the next iteration, the first half is the same, but then when we reach the final 2 kick drums, we do another one in between. So this section by itself is, right? Do it with me. No worries, have a good one. So yeah, and then if we do all those together, right, it's 8, 2 bars here, 1 bar here, and then 1 bar here. So if we do it all together, it goes. Sweet. Next ones, we switch it up a little bit. We've got snares here. We go. Right? So if we do the whole thing together so far, we'll do it a little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Now the last one is, it starts with the same standard, but then we go, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and ba ba, right? Let's try just this section on loop together. 1, 2, 3 and. Nice. Y'all with me so far? So now let's slowly go through the whole thing together, and then we'll do it with the music. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Good job, everybody. Drink a little bit of water. You've earned it. Thank you guys very much. I still feel like it's a little jankier than I would hope, but first time, I'll take it. So now I'm going to play it from the beginning. We'll listen through this, and then we'll just try to do the A section together. Okay? Nice job, guys. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that was way too fast. Luckily, YouTube has this super awesome function that we're going to take advantage of and do it together right now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Cool. So yeah, we will probably continue going at normal speed, but if you ever do this yourself, which you should, that can be a very useful trick. All right, so that's our A section. The B section is actually quite easy. Now, this little WI thing I've got floating up here just means that the same rhythm from the wood block intro happens at this same point, but we're going to ignore it for now. So let's go over the B section. This is actually pretty straightforward. So our first 2 bars go. That's pretty easy. And then we have another one of those. All right. This is pretty easy. We got B, 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 snare, kick, 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 snare, kick, 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 snare, kick, 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 kick. That's super easy. Then we have, oh my God, then we got another kick, 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 snare. Right? So going through, I think we can do all of this together right now. I think we can do it. All right. 1, 2, 3. Nice job, everybody. Now this last one's a little trickier because we're gonna have to drop into that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 again. All right. So I'm gonna do it right now. Right? It goes. Wait, is that right? Did I transcribe? Did I get this right? Yeah, I did get this right. Yeah. All right. So again, that's. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Right? I know it sounds a lot, but it's really just. This is so much fun. Even, dude, 3-3-2 is the best thing in all music. Maybe not, but it's up there for me. It just does it for me. So okay, we'll go through this once together, and then we will do the whole song so far. Or no, we'll do this one section first. So okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Good job, everybody. Let's listen to it. All right. So let's do the whole thing so far. Shape of You by Ed Sheeran has entered the chat. Yo, that's hilarious. All right, so from the top. Nice job. I heard you do that. That was sick. You're beatboxing. Let's go. Great job, fam. Great job. All right. So moving on. Oh man, it's just hard. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys sound so good already. So moving on to the C section, which is a little harder. It is definitely a little harder, but that's okay. Y'all are here for me. So let's listen to it once. Oh, whoops. Sorry, taking it a step back. Here it comes now. All right, so that now you probably felt a lot of emotions during that sixth section of the song. Now, you'll notice when the C section starts, it sounds fundamentally different because so far everything has been very boots and cats, very 4 on the floor, right? So what that means is something on every downbeat, right? Ba, 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 ba. Like literally the whole past 4 sections have had something on the downbeat, except for the instance where we had the 3-3-2, right? So this is where switching to halftime gives a really sick groove right here, right? So instead of us having big hits on every beat, it becomes this beat and this beat. 1 and 3 become the highlights, right? Can I bold these potentially? I don't know if I can bold symbols. Yeah, no, I can't. So if I were to write this out, it goes, so, okay. I'm going to do it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Right? So that happens twice, right? And that whole thing has the halftime feel to it because it's, it's instead of, right? It waits, right? And then it goes straight for, let's just do this together, right? Let's try it together. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Worth also noting, you don't need the second 2 things here. As long as you get the 1 and 3, you could literally just do that during these sections and I would not be mad at you. You could literally do that. You could literally go... Right? I guess this is a bad indicator. Here we go. You could literally do that and you would achieve the same result. So let's hear that. It's coming in. Here it comes. And then you just heard it, right? That just happens. You don't need this. You don't need the ones in here. As long as you get the ones on the main beats, you'll be fine. But technically it's, right? It's just 1 bar of that, and then it goes right back to the same groove we were feeling rather. And it's actually the same phrasing as well. It's the same bar followed by the same bar. So if I were to do this whole thing through, right? I'm going to do it, right? Oh, this is very much a VOD like heavy lesson. I sped through things. Like I could have spent 3 hours just talking about kick drums. Like for sure I could have. So but anyway, so for the C section, here we go, right? That's what that section is. It's a little weird, but that's how it reads. So with the music, and then we'll do the whole thing so far. All right, here it comes. Here's the halftime. Here we go. Here we go. Right? So that's the C section. We'll do the whole song now. We definitely won't edit it. Put the mouse where we are. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah. Especially with this one here, with this run. We're about to start the A section. Here we go. Right? Sorry. It's hard for me to scroll with it at the same time, but that was it. Oh, y'all can't see the mouse at all, huh? I was just that's so funny. I was just trying so hard to get that. Shit, that actually that's unfortunate because I was hoping to use that as a tool. Oh man. I need to think for a second here. How can I remedy this? Let's try this. Okay, let's try this. Is that better? Does that work for you? Yeah, this works. This works great. We're gonna proceed like this. All right. So we'll do that again with my mouse along with it, and then we will do the D section, which is the last section, and then we will have a loop, and we'll do the wood blocks and then end it. All right, we're gonna start at the A section. All right, we're here. Psh, 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 psh. All right. The C section is hard. The simplified version of it might be worth your time, which is just. Yeah, actually, let me write that out. Let me write down C section easy mode real quick. So that times 2, and then actually, is it times 4? No. So that times 2, and then yeah. Okay. And then ba. And then this again. And then just this. Okay. All right. There's easy mode. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Is easy mode for that. Yeah, cool. So let me do this. Now that we've gone through the different sections a little bit, we can start to group them. I trust you guys to handle it, and we'll be able to read it a little bit easier if we do it this way as well. Okay, so there's A. Here comes B. Oh, yikes. I need to make sure I note the woodblock intro. We're probably going to wrap up around 4, by the way, everybody. Maybe a little later, but hopefully you're right at 4. So, okay, skipping. Woodblock intro goes here. And now I can get rid of this. Oh, goodness. Yeah, highly recommend doing this on a notebook instead of a WordPad. But I mean, it is nice because you have fixed width everything and all that jazz. Okay. Now, hopefully this won't be too hard to read. I think it might actually be a little easier. Now, yes. Yeah, okay. We got 2 different versions of the C section. Let me just go ahead and do this. How you guys doing, by the way? Sorry, I know this has been kind of messy at times, but hopefully still gaining something from this. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Okay, now I need this. Put this here. I put this here and this underneath. Then I can get rid of it. Okay, so yeah, here's the C section hard mode, and here is the C section easy mode. We'll really just spell it out. It's nice how it all just lines up well. Gotta love those mono type fonts. All right, boom. Now, hopefully I didn't paste anything in the wrong place, because I think that's everything up until the D section. Nice. All right, yeah, so let's, now that we've cleaned this up a little bit, let's try reading through it again. Let me actually get it in position beforehand. All right. Here we go. And we'll do the D section and hammer it out. The D section is like way easier than the C section. So you'll note I kind of went into the easy mode there after that. In fact, why don't I wish I could put these next to each other, but I suck. All right, let's look at the D section real quick. It's super easy. It's literally it's just, this is a joke how easy that is. So let's read through that one together, then we'll go through the whole song, and then we'll talk about wood blocks, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. So. All right, we'll do it together. You guys ready? We're just gonna sight read this because it's all on just the beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You did it. Nice job. Yeah, Bruno, you and me both. All right, so let's go through the whole thing with just the drum kit, and then we'll talk woodblock, and then we can just listen to it and vibe for a long time. dare I say, let's do it again? All right, so now you literally know the kit throughout the whole loop. Also, oh my God, Drum Ultima, thank you so much for all the gift subs, and I hope my nightmarish percussive notation isn't giving you a headache. So okay. Now that we've done the kit throughout the entire loop, that literally means if you just look at that. Like, if I wish I could display this better for you, but if you literally just look at it, you could probably just listen through that loop and practice, which is pretty dope. Now let's talk about the woodblock. So breaking it down into further subdivisions than we have been using, this is the pattern for the woodblock intro. Now, you could look at it and break it down with this, or you could just listen to it and just get a sense for the rhythm. I think the exercise of writing out your beatboxing stuff in this format is really useful and good for catching patterns and stuff, but sometimes it's just easier to just listen by ear. So like, whatever works for you. What we got here is da 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 da. So I like doing it on K, which is why I wrote the letter K. 1 2 ka 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 1 2 ka 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 ka. Right? So it sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty easy. And so that rhythm I'm going to refer to as the woodblock intro, or WI, right? So now you'll notice the reason that those showed up here is because while these drums were going on in the kit, the woodblock intro was happening at the same time. So if I was jamming on this during one of my Saturday streams, like I will be tonight, I could do something like right? It lets you know that that's going on at the same time, right? Now, there is one other place where the woodblock comes in. It's during section A, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's listen to this intro again one more time. So it's, if you go da da ka 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 ka. Yeah. So that's that. When we get to the B section, I'll point it out. So we're in A now. as I'm sure you noticed, there was another woodblock part going on during section A. I tried to type it out. Again, I'm not sure that I got it completely correct, but I know that I know it by ear. So if you were to break it down into like, this is either 16th or 32nd notes, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Yeah, let me just actually play it real quick. It's easier to listen to. Yeah, here it is. Actually, here we go. So it's a little hard to read, so maybe you just want to hear it. So that is the last part that goes on there. But yeah, I can send these out or something. For now, I will pull up the thing. Let's just jam out. Let's just jam out on the loop and then we'll call it. All right. Okay, yeah, so yeah, that is an example of listening to a track, breaking down all of the different sections, all of the different things going on in there, and then writing out a beat for it. There are, a few other things I was hoping to cover today, but time really flies, and things moved a little slower than I was expecting because of the difference in medium,
Whoa!
Whoa!
Who dat?
Whoa!
We got the bits now. We got bits.
Holy cow, Sigma Beta, thank you so much. Those 5,000 bits are going to go towards MagFest, which is an amazing institution. Obviously, we all know this. But yeah, a couple other just quick things. Again, these tools are literally all you need. Beatboxing isn't about doing everything perfect or sounding like the best instrument in the universe or like sounding like a drum kit. It's literally about using whatever tools you have to augment the sound and the music as much as possible. And so I think just expanding on the sounds that we laid out, using some of the frameworks we laid out can be helpful. Breaking down parts, you don't even need to write them out, right? I mean, a lot of you are musicians. You can just think them and you'll know. You can recognize patterns by ear, right? But as you make note of them, and I mean, obviously the percussionists in here already know this, but you'll start to understand like, oh, this is where fills go. Fills go right before the next section. Oh, sometimes I can start on a big crash cymbal type noise when a new section starts or halfway through a chorus to give it like new oomph. Stuff like that. Listen to the drums of the music that you like and see if you can boil it down into the functional kick and snare and X and auxiliary and hi-hats and all that. But if you listen to the music that you already listen to, music that you already know front to back, you could hear this song, within moments what song it is, right? Those songs, you listen to them, you listen in particular to the drums, you'll notice so many cool things. If you just start to think about where do the kicks go, where do the snares go? And also, if video game music happens to be something you're very familiar with, you should come to name that tune because that's going to be just awesome for any fans of video game music. And we'll have prizes and fun stuff. Oh, snap. Yeah. Exactly, Jer. It's literally yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm sure you're doing you're definitely doing all of this stuff. But yeah, I think I'll want to do another one of these hopefully before next SWAGFest, because I really wanted to go into conceptually what is the role of percussion, what is the role of vocal percussion, how can you breathe your personality into your parts, and kind of go into my philosophy of how I write my own parts as opposed to transcribing parts. But yeah, in any case, I've gone way over time. Thank you all so much for being here. Hope to see you guys in 17 minutes for some video game trivia. We are doing SWAGEPardy, hosted by Zen, on our Discord. You guys are all amazing. I hope you all try this stuff out. I mean, I see a lot of you are in the audience right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you all tried it out at home, because I swear to God, it is so much easier than I make it sound. And for any of you who have been trying it or who want to get better, you can also message me on Discord, and I will be happy to field any and all questions. I love this stuff. If you can't tell, I love beatboxing. I love teaching beatboxing. I love breaking it down using stupid analogies like shoot a marble of air up into the back of your neck. It works, But yeah, anyway, thank you all so much. I'm going to shut it down. But tune back in about 4 hours at 8 p.m. Eastern. I will be beatboxing to your video game requests. And yeah, sweet. Cheers. Until then, peace.